Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and if it's your first time joining us, thanks for coming along for the ride. It's been a while since we've done a proper 360-degree review, so I thought I would take the opportunity today to get you guys out in potentially the last line of an icon, the end of an era, the Mark III Audi TT. So this particular car is a 2016 Audi TT, and it's the Mark III generation. This one is the TFSI 1.8 turbo engine one, so it is the lower engined in the range. There's 4 engines available across a 1.8 litre, a couple of 2 litres, and the almighty 2.5 5-cylinder that is in the TT RS. This being the 1.8, it has a roughly a 0 to 60 time of about 7 seconds. And I thought I would take the opportunity to get you guys out in it, see what it's like. Every single Audi that I've ever driven has always left me somewhat underwhelmed, except one. I've driven a few nice Audi A4s. I've driven an Audi S3 once, which left me incredibly underwhelmed. The A4s felt light and floaty and weren't particularly nice. I was expecting, when I was 18, when I first got the opportunity to drive my first Audi, and I was expecting something awesome, and ultimately I was just disappointed with it. Then the next one that I drove after that was a Mark II TT. Funnily enough, the owner of this car's previous car, and it was the 2 litre one, and it was incredibly fun to drive. It felt quite eager to move. It had a lovely gear change, and despite being quite heavy for a roadster, it handled incredibly well. The owner of this particular car, Roy, traded his Mark II in against this one, and I wanted to see whether or not this follows the same trend as other Audis for me, or if it will match what that Mark II TT done for me many years ago. Now, it's no slouch. It has a good bit of get up and go, but it's obviously not as fast as the 2 litre versions. This one only has about 177 brake horsepower, which obviously in a front wheel drive car, and this one is only available in front wheel drive, you can't get this in the quattro. The quattro starts from the 2 litres and up. But in this car, it feels nimble enough, it feels nice to drive. Certainly, one thing that Audis do particularly well is the interior. The interior in this thing is absolutely gorgeous. It has no centre console, you'll see here. Everything is done here via the Audi digital cockpit. You'll have obviously controls and whatnot here. I am not entirely sure how Roy has spec'd this up. I'm not going to start digging around in the settings at the moment, but it's the S line, so it comes with the half leather, half Alcantara seats. It also comes with some additional trims and whatever else, some S line type badges and stuff here and there across the interior. And certainly one thing this car is it's nice to sit in. It's quite comfortable. It's quite a firm ride, but with the standard suspension on this rather than the dampers, it has a decent enough ride on it. It feels comfortable. I haven't obviously given it much opportunity in the twisties yet, but hopefully once we get through some of these small towns, or villages even, we can see how this thing handles on the road, because this is the last generation of Audi TT. In November 2023, Audi has announced that it is no longer going to be making the Audi TT, and it's quite sad to think that after 25 years in production, we are no longer going to have Audi providing a petrol-engined 2+2, it's a 2-seater, let's be honest, a 2+2 coupe or convertible sports car. Purely because we're moving away from internal combustion engines and we're going to be moving across to electric cars and whatever else. But considering how much of an icon certainly the first generation Audi TT was when it was introduced. It's sad that the end of an era is coming to us. Obviously, over the years, it has progressively got more aggressive looking. Certainly the Mark III with its angular headlights is a lot more aggressive looking than the simpler Bauhaus-inspired Mark I. The Mark II, again, sort of kept those softer, more curved lines. This one's a little bit more angular than the previous two, but they are still incredibly good looking cars to this day. And certainly across the range, you can have one for all tastes. What I quite like about this particular car is that Audi offer multiple engine opportunities and choices with it. We've got 1.8 turbo, 2 litre turbo, we've got another 2 litre turbo with slightly more power, and we've got the 2.5 litre 5-cylinder that I mentioned earlier. There is also a diesel engine. It also comes with a diesel engine, which is probably comparable as far as sort of speed and acceleration goes as to this car here, the 1.8 turbo. But the fact that they have such a wide range of engines means that ultimately they've got a choice to cater to everybody. And it's very rare these days that you would get that level of options as far as engine goes in something like this. Now, let me just creep out of here. Spinning the gears, spinning the wheels in first gear there. And there we are, look, 60, 70 miles an hour. No problem at all. Yeah, the tyres could probably do with a bit of a refresh. They weren't particularly good at putting down the power there. It's a relatively dry day. But yeah, that felt okay. It's not pin you in your seat or anything of that kind of nature, but it'll certainly do what you need it to do as far as getting up to speed. What Roy did mention to me is the automatic spoiler will come up at around about 77 miles an hour. So there's a good little indicator if you're going too fast, and it will come back down again at around about 50 miles an hour. One thing I've not tried today is the dynamic driving modes that this particular car has also. So there is sport, there's dynamic, and there's various other things as well. I'm not entirely sure how to get to them as of yet, but I'll have a little rummage about later on, and if I find out, I'll maybe do a follow-up video. One thing that this car certainly has in spades is style, certainly, but I could see this being a very good daily driver. From what I've read up and what I know about this particular version of the Audi TT is that they're fairly reliable. There has been issues in the past with water pumps. There was a recall that was done because the water pumps are made of plastic and they have a tendency to obviously overheat and start to warp and crack and cause problems. That was a recall done by Audi, so if you are going to be looking for one of these cars, make sure that the recall for that water pump has been done, so that has been improved. Otherwise, you're talking around about a £400–500 job for the pump, and if you need to get any hoses or anything in addition to that, then you're talking around about £800–900, depending on the extent of work that needs to be done. Now, because the Audi TT is now 25 years old, there are multiple variations available to you out there. You can pick up a Mark I for as little as £1,000. You can pick up a Mark II for as little as £2,000–3,000, which obviously means you're going to be getting a bit of a rough one. They're not going to be in the greatest of conditions in that price range. And these ones, a Mark III 2016 1.8 TFSI, you're probably looking around about £15,000–16,000, and for the 2 litre, 16,000. And we won't even get into what the TTS and the RS set you back, because you're talking tens of thousands of pounds for either of them. Certainly the TTRS I think is about 40 or 45,000 pounds, but it is one of the fastest accelerating cars that you can purchase at just under 4 seconds. I believe at the time it was released it was faster than Koenigsegg. If I'm wrong with that, please tell me in the comments. I'm sure that you will. But this version of the car obviously isn't going to light your hair on fire quite as much as that car, but it is certainly more than capable on both the motorway that we were on there and these tight, twisty country B roads. There is certainly a charm to it. The virtual cockpit's nice to use. With it being an Audi, most of the stuff that you have to get are optional, so I don't think, no, this one doesn't seem to have the sat nav in place. Got all the buttons for it, of course, but it's not been added, which is unfortunate, as it is pretty cool. It takes up the majority of your speedo there. Things shift out of the way, and the majority of the cockpit actually just turns into a map. Oh, there's another car come off there. That's the second time that I have driven down this road and there's a car been in that field. Now, I'll need to go back and have a look over. It was a short video that I posted a wee while ago. I'll have to have a look to see whether or not it's the same car or if it's a different one. Again, reply in the comments if you had noticed that and whether or not you think it's the same car. So, if you're looking for a car that is able to give you a bit of fun, a sort of two-seater sports car experience for anywhere between £1,000 and £16,000 for this sort of entry-level ones or older variations of the car, you can't go wrong with an Audi TT. And the fact that it's the last one is hopefully quite good for how these eventually start to get picked up by younger generations and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully it does become a bit of a classic. Because of the sheer numbers that these cars were produced in, that might be difficult. But certainly, despite the fact that a new, or an old one, sorry, can be picked up for as little as £1,000, it should hopefully mean that these cars are going to eventually come down much the same. And you can get a fantastically fun two-seater sports car. It does have seats in the back, but I wouldn't put my dog in there. You're lucky if a kid would fit in the back of there. Despite having ISOFIX on the rear back seats there and the front, I don't think a child would fit in this particularly comfortably. We're all busy today here, guys. Look at this. I'm going to have to go up on the road here. We've got an Alpha behind us. Don't know why it's so busy here today. Anyway, before I end up in a field like that Renault Clio that we drove past before, let me just say thank you very much for coming along on today's ride in this Audi TT. If you've enjoyed today's video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll make sure that we'll put you in the passenger seat of the next cars that we're going in. And if you want to know, there's a couple of things that we've maybe got lined up. We have potentially an Audi SQ5, so I'm going to see if this Audi can also match whether or not I am impressed by or left underwhelmed again, and potentially a BMW 840i from 1995. And to answer the question as to whether or not this car is fitted in to my previous trend of leaving me underwhelmed, no, it hasn't. Despite it being slightly down on power compared to the last one that I drove, it's been great fun. It's a lovely interior. It's a great place to sit. All of the steering wheel and all that feels fantastic to hold. It's nimble. It's fairly quick despite being underpowered. And I would definitely like to give a big thank out to Roy for giving me a shot on this today. Cheers, guys. Call shotgun, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.